On February 9th, the impeachment trial of former President Donald J. Trump began. He was being charged with the crime of incitement of insurrection for his role in the January 6th Capitol riot that took the lives of 5 citizens. The first day of the trial would be focused on the constitutionality of the impeachment and if it should proceed, pending a vote at the end of the day's hearing. The Senate trial of former President Trump began with a jarring and graphic video of the riot at the Capitol on January 6th, which was presented by lead House Manager Representative Jamie Raskin of Maryland.
Because our case is based on cold, hard facts. It's all about the facts. President Trump has sent his lawyers here today to try to stop the Senate from hearing the facts of this case. They want to call the trial over before any evidence is even introduced.
Raskin was then followed by impeachment manager Democratic Representative Joe Neguse, who cited conservative legal figures to appeal to Republican senators. He noted that leading figures in the Federalist Society agreed with their position that a former president could face prosecution, and even that though removal from office was not on the table, disqualification from running for future office was contemplated by the founders.
Lead Manager Raskin explained that impeachment exists to protect the American people from officials who abuse their power, who betray them. It exists for a case just like this one.
Rhode Island Democratic Representative David Cicilline attempted to rebut arguments from the defense team that Trump, like other politicians, uses inflammatory language, but that doesn't mean he incited the riot. Cicilline said Trump stood apart because he was the President of the United States, who was arguing to his base that the only way he could lose was because of a conspiracy.
Simply put, it matters when and where and how we speak. The oaths we've sworn and the power we hold matter. President Trump was not impeached because he used words that the House decided are forbidden or unpopular. He was impeached for inciting armed violence against the government of the United States of America.
Following testimony from the impeachment managers, Mr. Trump's lawyers argued that his words at the rally on January 6th constituted free speech akin to typical political language and hardly incited the violence.
In cases of impeachment, i.e. what we are doing, shall not extend further than removal from office. What is so hard about that? Which of those words are unclear? Shall not extend further than removal from office. President Trump no longer is in office. The object of the Constitution has been achieved. He was removed by the voters.
When the time came, only 6 Republicans voted in favor of the constitutionality of the Senate process. While that was enough for the simple majority required to proceed with the trial, it suggested that most GOP senators don't want to vote against Trump in the days to come. Day 2 of the trial was the first of 2 days for the 9 managers to present their case. House Democrats prosecuting former President Donald J. Trump started Day 2 of the trial showing never-seen-before footage of the Capitol riot, in which his supporters were looking for Vice President Mike Pence and Speaker Nancy Pelosi. They went back months to try to show that former President Trump not only incited rioters at the rally on January 6th, but laid the foundation to sow doubt that the outcome of the election could lead to violence. House members walked through how after various failed attempts to undermine the election results, including pushing state officials to overturn results, legal challenges, and other attempts at intimidation, Trump was left with a focus on the last day, the day Congress met to count and certify the electoral votes.
Fight. Stay strong. Be strong. But when the violence started, he never once said the one thing everyone around him was begging him to say. Stop the attack.
The emotional second day of the trial ended in procedural chaos as a Republican Senator, Mike Lee, objected to testimony that cited him as a source.
Ruled on a motion, you've ruled on something that was not what I moved. What I asked was, statements were attributed to me repeatedly, as to which I have personal knowledge because I am the source. They are not true. I never made those statements. I asked that they be stricken. This has nothing to do with whether or not they're based on depositions, which they're not. It's simply based on the fact that I'm the witness. I'm the only witness. Those statements are not true, and I ask that you strike them.
The third day of the former President Donald Trump's second impeachment trial brought to a climax House managers' cases for trying to convict him. Representative Diane DeGette opened the day with a presentation focused on the perspectives of the rioters themselves, many of whom have said that they overran the Capitol because they believed Mr. Trump directed them to do so. House Manager Ted Lieu of California made a point of stressing that the trial is not just about holding Trump accountable for his past actions, but also safeguarding the country's future against similar attacks. Lieu played audio and read quotes from various White House officials who resigned in the wake of the attack, along with comments from Republican lawmakers condemning Trump for his actions leading up to the insurrection.
President Trump spent months inflaming his supporters, spread lies to incite a violent attack on the Capitol, on our law enforcement, and on all of us. And then he lied again to his base to tell them that this was all okay, that this was all acceptable. And that is why President Trump is so dangerous. Because he would have all of us, all Americans, believe that any president who comes after him can do exactly the same thing.
On day 4, Donald Trump's lawyers, David Schoen, Bruce Castor, and Michael Van der Veen, took to the Senate floor on Friday and aggressively argued that Democrats lacked evidence to link the former president to inciting the January 6th riot. Trump's attorneys sought to recast Trump's language and tone around January 6th, as they claimed his comments that day were protected by free speech and that the Democrats were motivated by their hatred of Trump.
Suddenly, the word fight is off limits? Spare us the hypocrisy and false indignation. It's a term used over and over and over again by politicians on both sides of the aisle.
We've got to keep fighting and keep focused.
We will fight when we must fight.
We've been fighting, and we need to fight, but we also need to fight.
It's always going to be an uphill fight.
We're in the fight of our lives.
And we're going to be in for the fight of our lives.
This is the fight of our life.
The fight of their lives.
It is constitutional cancel culture.
This trial is about far more than President Trump. It is about silencing and banning the speech the majority does not agree with. It is about canceling 75 million Trump voters.
On day 5, the conclusion of Donald J. Trump's impeachment trial was briefly cast into doubt on Saturday after a last-minute request for a witness testimony.
The only thing that I ask, if you vote for witnesses, do not handcuff me by limiting the number of witnesses that I can have. I need to do a thorough investigation that they did not do.
The House impeachment managers who had raised the request quickly dropped the issue, paving the way for closing arguments.
The president spent months inflaming his supporters to believe that the election had been stolen from him, from them, which was not true. He summoned the mob, assembled the mob, and when the violence erupted, he did nothing to stop it.
The children of the insurrectionists, even the violent and dangerous ones, they're our children too. They are Americans, and we must take care of them and their future. We must recognize and exercise these crimes against our nation, and then we must take care of our people and our children, their hearts and their minds. As Tommy Raskin used to say, it's hard to be human.
It was not Mr. Trump. It was not anyone in the Republican Party that spent the 6 months immediately prior to the Capitol assault giving rhetorical aid and comfort to mobs, making excuses for rioters, celebrating radicalism, and explaining that angry, frustrated, and marginalized people were entitled to blow off steam like that.
In a 57-43 vote, the Senate handed down an acquittal for Mr. Trump for the second time in 13 months.
The yeas are 57. The nays are 43. 2/3 of the senators present not having voted guilty. The Senate judges that the respondent, Donald John Trump, former President of the United States, is not guilty as charged in the article of impeachment